Good morning, everybody. This is Keith Minion Studio in Stanton, Virginia. In February of 2014, I took the first oil painting studio class at the Beverly Street Studio School in downtown Stanton that I had ever taken in over 50 years. The last oil painting class that I was in was a accredited studio course at the art school I was attending at that time as an undergraduate. I hated oil painting at the time. It was just too goopy, took too long to dry. I couldn't get the detail I really wanted that I was able to get with water media like watercolor and egg tempera. So as soon as I was able to put down the oil painting brushes and get into water media, the better as far as I was concerned. However, in 2014, a new resident here in Stanton, I saw that the Beverly Street Studio School was an excellent opportunity to pick those brushes back up again and see just give oil painting another try. Anyway. What you're looking at is the first canvas that I did in that class. Jeffrey Stockberger was the instructor of the class, and he had us set up still lifes to do our first canvas. The school in the studio classes had a wide variety of objects that you could choose from to make your own still life, which I thought was a great idea. That way everybody in the class was doing something different. We weren't all trying to create the same image, the same painting. I chose, because I was sure I was going to screw it up, I chose this subject matter of just 3 objects. Nothing really difficult to do. You know, cloth, folds of cloth, light on a dull metal bucket, and a little bit of reflection on an old porcelain doorknob. Background to be very indeterminate. Suggestion of something hanging on a wall. Again, nothing hard. And every Thursday for the next 5 or 6 weeks, I'd come in. There would be my still life still sitting there. Everything exactly as I had left it. The lighting the same, because we worked from 9 till I think 3, maybe a little bit more than that. So I was able to get the same image before me, the same subject matter before me, that I could then try to translate on the canvas in oil paint. Here is a photo of the still life I took in February after 4 sessions, 4 weeks of work at the Beverly Street Studio School, taking a course called Indirect Oil Painting with Jeffrey Stockberger. The canvas is covered, everything is there, but everything still needs work. Can you see what still needs to be done? What still needs fixing? Here is the finished, or close to finished, painting, a photo taken 2 weeks later when we were well into March and almost at the end of the class. Take a good look. Can you see what I changed? Okay, back to the work in progress. I've just put the painting on an easel, set up my palette. I step back and give the canvas a fresh eye. What needs doing here? Well, the brackets on the pot where the handle hooks in aren't the same size. I distinctly remember discussing this with Jeff. True, they weren't exactly the same size in the actual pot. So, should I follow and paint exactly what I see? Does that translate successfully in the painting? I didn't think so, and neither did Jeff. What if I made the bracket in the front closer in size to the one behind it? Would it look better in a painting, even though it wouldn't look exactly like it was there in the still life? It was something to consider. The shadow under the handle isn't defined yet, obviously. That needs to be done. The right edge of the pot is close to the actual edge of the pot in the still life before me, but the edge on the left is way off. They need to match. Let's see, what else? Well, the doorknob here looks more like an egg instead of the oblate sphere in perspective, like the real doorknob. That needs fixing. The shadow colors on the left side of the box are too close to the colors on the right side. That tends to flatten everything out rather than bringing that corner forward. One side needs to be warmer or cooler or darker than the other. Overall, the background colors in the painting are too close in value and hue to the foreground objects. One needs to be cooler or the other warmer, or both, to help define the depth of the composition. As it stands right there, everything is just way too flat. And then there's the reflected light on the pot. The two light sources need to be different. I think the one on the left should be warmer, maybe, because that's what I'm seeing on the pot itself. I think it was a reflected light from someone else's still life that they had lit up. Anyway, they both need work. Okay, back to the finished painting. Did I make all of those adjustments? Were they good choices? Is it a better painting? Is it done? In 1975, when I painted this watercolor still life, I was a junior in college, still absorbing a recent discovery of Andrew Wyeth and his painting techniques in both watercolor and egg tempera. In particular, I was very interested in his dry brush watercolor techniques, much to the chagrin of a few of my water media painting professors at the time. I'm looking at you, Professor Morton. Anyway, the subject matter here were 3 stones I had collected from the beaches of Cape Cod in Massachusetts, arranged on my rooming house windowsill, overlooking the back porch of the house next door. I did it to practice my dry brush painting technique, but also to act as a preliminary sketch of sorts for a full-blown egg tempera painting I planned to do, but as it turned out, never did. Instead, I ended up selling it, as I did practically everything I painted back then, to pay for rent, art supplies, and food. We've all been there, right? Hopefully, Cape Snow is still hanging up on a wall somewhere in upstate New York. 47 years later, in 2022, I still had the composition rattling around in my head. I had new stones to paint this time, collected from beaches as far-flung as the Aleutian Islands in Alaska, the Dingle Peninsula in Ireland, and even Pennypack Park in northeast Philadelphia. I also still had my set of glass jars that contained my powdered pigments from so many years ago, still fresh, still ready to go. And I also had all of the tools and materials necessary to do a proper egg tempera painting if I wanted. All I needed was some distilled water and some egg yolks. 2 months later, 5 stones was done. So, why still lifes? Why does every oil painting class that you probably have taken or would take, either in adult education setting or as a high school elective, or if you're lucky enough to get into art school, why does every class, every beginning class, painting 101, drawing 101, always begin with a still life? Why not just say, okay, paint whatever you want, paint mighty mountains, paint magical little trees, paint something out of your imagination, just go crazy with the paint. Well, obviously, because the only way you're ever really going to be able to paint realistically real things that are in the world. I'm talking nothing abstract here. We're only talking realist painting. The only way to master that is to begin simply, to begin with something in a very controlled environment where the lighting doesn't change, where the subject matter doesn't change, where you have the ability every time you come back to the canvas after however long a period, the conditions, the subject matter, everything is still the same. You can look at your canvas and say, oh man, I messed that up. I need to fix that today. Or, ooh, I'm getting good on this part. I should continue that way. Every time that you come to your own canvas fresh, you see something, hopefully with fresh eyes. So you can see your mistakes, figure out how to fix them, and then hopefully end up with a painting that you're really proud of.